The London Bridge Sports Medicine Podcast.
Medical news, health, fitness.
With Dr Ajai Seth.
Hi, welcome back to the London Bridge Sports Medicine Podcast. Today I welcome back Dr Seth, who'll be talking everything compression garments. Why do we need compression garments? How do they work? And what are the benefits of wearing them? So please stay tuned and happy listening. So tell us a bit about compression garments. Why would we need them?
Well, I think, it's important to understand what a compression garment is first. I think it's lots of different types of compression garments and, lots of different types of garments that people might think are helping or helping them improve their performance and that kind of stuff. So it's a very, very tricky field. I think there's generally four main reasons why someone would need a compression garment. Maybe let's talk about those first, and we can sort of break it down a bit more. So the first reason I would say are for performance or recovery benefit. So people normally sort of buy garments because they're exercising and they're looking to enhance their speed or endurance, or whilst they're keeping fit or playing a sport, or they're looking to enhance their recovery and sort of get back to exercise, sport quicker, and they're looking to recover quicker and reduce injury risks. So I think that's probably the first main reason, performance or recovery. The second one is probably the most important, and that's like medical use. So it's sometimes people need a garment because they've been advised to wear one by a medical professional, or like they've been what we call prescribed. Just like you'd be prescribed medication, you could be prescribed a garment for certain conditions. Usually we can talk about these conditions, but things like if you've had varicose veins or clots in the veins, if you've got leg swelling, that kind of stuff is where compression garments can be used. The third is like general support. So sometimes, people aren't really sure why they would need a garment, but they just feel they want a bit more support for their sort of muscles and tendons, or they might have a bit of a swollen joint and they want to try and just reduce the swelling from that point of view. And the last one, Bella, I'm sure you've used a garment from this point of view, is flight socks. You ever used flight socks before?
Can't say I have used flight socks, actually.
Really?
No.
They give you that little cute bag with all the flight socks and the toothpaste.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, don't you? But anyway, so people who are traveling and want to reduce swelling or prevent getting clots in the leg when they're flying can have flight socks. So I mean, it's an important point actually that those little socks they give you while you're flying, they are not compression garments. They are just literally a novelty thing to wear when you're on the plane. They're not providing any form of compression from that point of view. So those are the main four reasons why you might need a compression garment, or why we would prescribe a compression garment.
Right, okay. So if I was thinking about signing up to do like a marathon or something, would I want to get is that something I want to consider? Maybe getting some compression garments?
Yeah, because I think it's there's a lot of benefits from wearing a compression garment. For example, if you're running a marathon, it can help firstly boost your cardiovascular system. So that basically means as you're running, the blood is going to be pumping back towards your heart and then out to the body again. So the compression garments can help your blood flow back from the calf up to the heart, and we call that venous return. So it's really important actually to help with that, and that's been proven that wearing garments of a certain compression help with that.
Right.
It might also boost your strength. So if you are looking to increase your speed or power, there's some evidence to suggest that actually it can increase the amount of endurance in the muscle itself. And also, they help from a tactile point of view. So the sensation of the garment around your calf when you're training, it helps keep your muscles warm, primed, and also some of the technologies are really good out there, so they can help you breathe as well. So they help the calf stay nice and cool. So you may have seen a lot of people running marathons, or especially those who do like ultra events, wearing garments in the desert, for example. That's just mainly to help keep the calves and the legs cool from that point of view. So yeah, there's lots of benefits of wearing it during exercise, but also, like we said, after exercise, from like a training point of view, because it helps reduce limb swelling, it helps reduce DOMS, which is delayed onset of muscle soreness, and all these things have some evidence to help to suggest that it has these positive benefits. So yes, lots of reasons of why you might want to wear a compression garment.
So is it the way that it works is basically what it says on the tin? It compresses your muscles. Is that what you're saying? You put them on, and then how does it work exactly? Just pushes the blood flow back around your body?
Yeah, so I mean, our blood flow around the body is happening in a pressure system, right? So blood flows to our calves and to our extremities via arteries, and then comes back via veins. So veins don't have as much pressure as arteries do, right? So arteries are a very high pressure system where veins don't. So veins rely on muscle to contract and push the blood up back to the heart. So you can imagine when you're running, a lot of people get swollen ankles when they've been standing too long, and that's because that's the calf pump is not as efficient as perhaps it should be, and you can get swollen ankles. So that is what essentially compression garments are doing. They are helping return blood back to the heart, but in doing so, returning waste products, returning things like lactic acid, and just generally improving the return of the blood flow from the muscle that has been working to the heart, and makes the whole system more efficient.
Right, okay. And would you possibly wear compression garments on your arms? Because we sort of focused on the legs quite a lot, but would you wear them on your arms, or not really?
No, yeah, very much so. So again, there are conditions, medical conditions, where you need to wear them on your arms, and that's, for example, if you've had a blocked vein in one of your big arteries, either a blocked artery or a blocked vein in the chest that leads to the arm. We call that a deep vein thrombosis. A lot of people, can get that in the lower leg, but actually you can get it in the upper limb. So there, it's really important to wear a compression garment in the arm, because actually that helps the blood flow back. But most people don't have that, but it can also improve your venous return in the arms. So again, when we are exercising and running, we want to just get as much blood flow back to the heart as possible. So again, you may have seen runners wear compression garments on the legs and arms, so they're trying to pump all four limbs, the blood all the way back from their four limbs to the heart, and get that heart pumping more efficiently. The other time it's really useful in the limbs, actually, in the upper limbs, is people who play upper limb sports. So you might have seen tennis players or volleyball players who do a lot of upper limb training, a lot of upper limb efforts, and they're wanting to, again, improve performance, but also improve recovery in their arms. So they probably do more workouts with their arms than they do with their legs in those types of sports. So yeah, very important to wear. It's not just the arms as well, it's the trunk. So you can get compression garments for the trunk, you can get them for the hands, you can get them for the feet. So lots of different types.
Okay. And how much compression do you need? Is there different sort of like strengths? Could you get like a tighter compression garment, or like a looser one?
It's graded. That's what we call it. So we call it graded compression, and essentially it's how tight it is, basically. So I guess in terms of how you would grade a compression garment, there's different ways of doing that, right? So you can get graded or you can get non-graded. So a non-graded garment is the same tightness all the way through, right? So you put on the garment and it's as tight as the top as it is the bottom. It doesn't matter if it's upper limb or lower limb. A graded garment would have lighter compression and then more compression as you go up. So you can grade the amount. So it all depends on what you're trying to achieve. Most of the ones you buy online, so if you buy from a company like Nike or Skins or any of these sort of undergarments, we can call it, or under wraps, they are going to be non-graded. So they're going to be just one continuous compression all throughout, and they're going to be quite light. They're not going to be heavy at all. So they're probably more useful just from that tactile response, just from making the muscle feel secure. And to be honest, there's limited evidence about, because they're so light, how much benefit they actually have.
Right.
When we talk about graded garments, that's the ones where it changes the gradient of pressure all the way through. That's when things get a bit more complicated, and there is a bit of a minefield out there in terms of how you grade them, how much pressure there is, and this became a bit of a problem actually, because about 30, 40 years ago there wasn't any standardization across that. So what we follow now in the UK is a British standard measure. So that basically brings out classes of grading. So you can get like class 1, class 2, class 3. So class 1 is light, class 2 is medium, and class 3 is really strong support. And we actually measure those in millimeters of mercury. So you can measure the pressure of gradient, and they've all been standardized to make sure that they hold the same pressure. So that there is actually a lot of regulation around the type of garment and the type of strength. So yeah, you really do need to know what type of garment you need from that point of view.
How would I find out what sort of garment I need? Is there like a risk if I buy the wrong one? Is there going to be something bad happens?
Yeah, well, yeah, definitely, because actually you need to be really careful about what type of garment you buy, because if you have certain conditions and you put on a too tight a garment, then that can be really bad for your circulation, mainly stopping the blood flow through from the heart to the limb itself. So the main things that you need to watch out for, if you're someone who's got any form of what we call arterial disease, so you've got problems with the arteries and you put on a really tight garment, that can be, a bit of a warning sign, and actually you can cause the limb to lose its blood flow, and that can cause longer term issues and longer term problems. So yeah, as a medical professional, we would always advise, if you're getting anything above a light or grade 1, you should certainly get some medical advice around that, in terms of what compression you need, what grade you need, and what sort of tightness you need. We often have to do lots of investigations before we prescribe garments, and that does things like checking your pulses. It might mean things like doing an ultrasound scan to actually see what the blood flow is like. Might mean doing like a specific type of blood pressure assessment, comparing blood pressure to the arm, to the leg, lots of different type of investigation from that point of view. So yeah, I would recommend, before you buy anything that is slightly heavier than a light compression garment, it's certainly worth getting a medical checkup.
Okay, so I could just go down my local Nike and get a light compression just to see that maybe I got some benefits from that. But if we're talking more long term, speak to someone about getting like a proper graded compression garment.
Exactly. And I think if you're also serious about performance and improving recovery, I don't think a Nike thing's going to cut it, because it's just going to be too light. It's not going to give you that. It's not going to give you that amount of compression. And the other thing to say about those really light ones is they're not British standard monitored. So another regulation that was put in was to make sure they keep their pressure. So after you wash them, after you wear them, they have to go through a number of cycles, as in washing cycles, to keep their pressure. So each of these garments you buy will have like a guarantee of 600 cycles or 500 wash cycles, where a Nike garment, for example, may not have that. So right. You may be falsely thinking that you've got good compression when you just don't. So yeah, certainly get some expert advice from that point of view.
Okay, and then how often would I want to wear them? Is that something we'd discuss, or would it something I could wear whenever I feel like I needed recovery to be aided, or just when I go out for my long runs?
Well, I think it depends on what you're trying to get from it, because if you're wearing a garment to enhance performance and recovery, you can use it during the warm-up, you can use it during the exercise, you can use it after the period. If you're using it for for travel, for example, you want to try and make sure you're getting it on at least 4 hours before the flight, and for the travel episode, so you can wear them quite frequently. You could maybe say, oh, I only want to wear them when I'm doing certain types of exercise, or I'm playing certain types of sports. So it's up to you, really. But I think it needs to fit into your general training plan and recovery plan, and to understand what you're trying to achieve by wearing them. The other thing I would say is, don't wear them at bedtime. Yeah, if possible, remove them at bedtime, because one is your legs are going to be elevated anyway, and secondly, you're just wasting the elastic recoil in them for a time where you probably don't need them as much. And yeah, I wouldn't wear them for longer than like a few days in a row. So sometimes if you're traveling and you've got them on for a long period of time, I certainly would make sure your feet have a chance to get rested. And that's more the skin than anything else as well, just making sure it has a good time. The other thing we'd say is getting a couple of pairs, because you can then swap and change when one is in wash and one is being cleaned. And like I said, they have a lifespan, right? So usually they're replaced like every 3 to 6 months, because they lose their effectiveness. So it really is something that it's worth getting measured, it's worth doing properly, and then it's worth keeping up. Otherwise, with new pairs, otherwise they lose their effectiveness.
Right, I didn't realize there were so many different types and different things to be spoken about with compression garments.
Yeah, I mean, and you can get different ones like above or below knee, for example. Right. You can get open and closed toe. So there's all different types. So it's a really complicated world. And what I would say is sometimes it's very confusing for patients. So what we've tried to do is create like an online toolkit on the LBSM website. So you can go on and you can click your needs from a compression garment, and we've hand selected what we think are the best garments on the market that give us the best performance, and it makes the whole process a bit easier for you.
Brilliant. That sounds really easy. Definitely something to bear in mind. I think that's everything, unless you've got anything else to add. I've sort of run out of questions.
No, I mean, just look, if you've got any questions about garments, feel free to get in touch. Otherwise, look forward to hearing any comments about your garment use.